So another weekend in the Championship has now been concluded, and in the run-up to Christmas, the games are really coming up thick and fast now. We've also got some midweek games going on in the Championship, which we will be predicting in the second half of today's video, so make sure you guys do go ahead and stick around for that. And of course, we're going to be discussing all of this weekend's action that went down in the Championship, and we've got a lot of talking points to go over in today's video, so make sure you do leave a comment in the comments down below as to what do you make of your team's performance this weekend. I'm always very interested to know. And before we do get into talking about any of the individual games, I will include your guys' comments on screen now. If you did manage to successfully get any of your score predictions correct this weekend, I had a pretty decent week in terms of my Championship predictions. I managed to get one of them correct. That was the Brentford against Middlesbrough game. Managed to correctly predict that one, so not too bad going for me. But without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and hop into talking about some of these games. And to our first game to go over, taking place at Portman Road this weekend on Friday night between Ipswich and West Brom. So the away side walk away with all 3 points with quite a convincing 2-1 away victory. For this game, I felt like West Brom probably had an extra gear to click up to if they needed it, but that wasn't really necessary. I could sort of see what Paul Lambert was trying to do with Ipswich in this game. They were trying to make themselves hard to break down, not let West Brom get a lot of space in behind, but even so, it was still the away side who were creating the majority of the chances for this game. They managed to take the lead after 26 minutes, Gio Rodriguez putting them 1-0 in front after Kieran Gibbs had headed the ball back across goal. In the 77th minute, they managed to make it 2-0, a goal from Harvey Barnes, a fantastic goal I must say as well, coming inside on his left foot and then burying it in the bottom corner past Bilkowski to put the game beyond any doubt really. Ipswich did get back into the game in the 85th minute, Caden Jackson scoring after a bit of dodgy defending from West Brom. They also had a free kick right in the last stages of the game, but that just flashed wide of the post, and Ipswich obviously walked away with nothing in the end. So, but West Brom recently have picked their form back up in the Championship, whereas Ipswich still sat at the bottom of the Championship, 6 points off safety now. And then into the Saturday games, we had Rotherham going up against Sheff United, this one finishing as a 2-2 draw in the end, and what a game this was. Dean Henderson for Sheff United, the goalkeeper, absolutely unbelievable in this game. He produced 3 top quality saves, one especially in the second half, coming from a Rotherham corner kick, tipping it over the crossbar at point blank range was absolutely unbelievable. He was by far the man of the match in this game. I actually thought that Rotherham probably got unlucky not to win this game with the amount of chances they were having in this one. I thought that it wasn't the best we've seen Sheffield United so far this season. They did create a few opportunities going forward. It was Duffy who took the lead for them, a very composed finish from the playmaker in midfield. He had about 5 defenders around him, but he managed to coolly put it into the bottom corner to put Sheffield United 1-0 in front. After that though, Rotherham really were pressing for an equaliser. They were getting a lot of balls into the box, and Rotherham really are a tough side to go up against. If you don't close down the players that they're looking to swing the balls in with, you know, if you're not closing down their wingers or their fullbacks, they can be an absolute nightmare with some of the target men they've got in that box. Eventually though, Rotherham did manage to get back into the game after Dean Henderson had made a couple of worldy saves. It was John Taylor on the 66th minute, managed to get the game all level. And then probably out of nowhere, Chris Basham for Sheffield United managed to make it 2-1 to the away side after Rotherham were putting piles of pressure onto that Sheffield United back defence. We thought that maybe Sheffield United had walked away with all 3 points from this one, and they snatched it. But then in the 92nd minute, after pretty a botched clearance really from Sheffield United, Jamie Proctor managed to find themselves in the box and make it 2-2 for what was definitely a deserved point for the home side. I thought that if anything, they probably got unlucky not to win this game. Not the best from Sheffield United in this game, but I thought the Rotherham, it was a very effective performance from them. And then we saw Nottingham Forest go ahead and claim all 3 points away at Hull City, which sees them just outside the playoffs at this point in time. It was quite a convincing performance from the away side in this one. They had a lot of the ball in this game. Hull, they probably did give Forest the first goal really. It was a shank clearance into the path of Lewis Graben, who managed to capitalise on it, and the man in form for Forest at the moment managed to make it 1-0. After that, it was then Joe Lolly, another player who's been on sparkling form for Nottingham Forest this season, to wrap up the game. A give and go between him and João Carvalho, managed to go ahead and slot the ball into the near post and make it 2-0 to Nottingham Forest. In the first half of this game, we've seen Nottingham Forest have a lot of the ball, but not really crafting out too many clear-cut opportunities, quite a few efforts from long distance. Hull had a few chances, nothing really spectacular. Grosicki had one free kick that springs to mind, but apart from that, they weren't really testing that Forest back line, who have been very solid recently. They've been keeping a lot of clean sheets. I think this will be an important 3 points for Nottingham Forest though. We spoke about it a little bit in my prediction video earlier on in the week, but Nottingham Forest have drawn a lot of football matches so far this season, and perhaps this is the sort of game where earlier on this season they would have been drawing, but now they are killing off teams and they are looking like a much better outfit for the top 6 come the end of the season. I think everyone always sort of knew that when Forest did get into full swing in the Championship, they were always going to do some damage. You know, with that attacking trio they've got going forward, they really do have the potential to go ahead and cause some teams a lot of problems. However, for Hull City, this result still leaves them in the bottom 3 and not looking brilliant at the moment. Then we saw Leeds claim all 3 points against Bristol City, a 2-0 home victory in this one, where we saw Josh Brownhill picking up a red card for Bristol City in the 55th minute. Some of Lee Johnson's comments at the end of the game have gone down a little bit controversially. He basically said that Leeds got away with it at the end of the game after Josh Brownhill was shown that red card. He felt like up until that point Bristol City were the best side and they were going to go on to win that game. I'm not sure I share that view. I thought that Bristol City were doing a good job up until that point of the red card to go ahead and nullify this Leeds squad to quite a few clear-cut opportunities, but going forward themselves, I thought Bristol Bristol City once again were looking quite poor. This is now their 4th consecutive loss in the Championship, and considering that Leeds were putting in, you know, an inexperienced keeper into this game, Will Huffer coming in for his first appearance for Leeds United in goal, I thought that Bristol City really will be putting that Leeds defence under a lot of pressure for this one, looking to get balls into the box and putting that goalkeeper under pressure. They weren't really doing that. They had a couple of efforts from distance, and Leeds sometimes were quite sloppy with the possession in their own defensive half, giving it to Bristol City, but they weren't capitalising on any of those opportunities. And obviously after Bristol City did go down to 10 men, that's when Leeds really started to take control of this game, and then goals from Kamal Roof and Pablo Hernandez did wrap up the game for Leeds United. So I'm not sure I share the same view as Lee Johnson, the Bristol City manager, really. You can tell that he's coming under increasing pressure though. Like I said, that's his 4th consecutive loss in the Championship now, but Leeds getting back on track after a poor result last time out. And a massive game at the bottom of the Championship this weekend ended as a 1-1 draw between Millwall and Bolton Wanderers. I think it was actually the away side who started this game much the brighter actually. They had a few chances in the early exchanges for this one, Archer popping up with some massive saves for Millwall, before eventually it was Beavers who gave Bolton the lead after just 12 minutes. A ball coming in from the right hand side from Joe Williams met Beavers at the far post, and he managed to head Bolton 1-0 in front. At that, Bolton had a couple more opportunities. I didn't think that Millwall were brilliant, especially in the first half of this game. They had a couple of chances in injury time of the first half of this one. I think that Bolton had one cleared off the line, but going into the second half I thought that we saw a gradual improvement from Millwall really. Bolton going into the second half, I thought that possibly they could have gone on the front foot a little bit more than they did. They sat very deep in that second half, and eventually they were, you know, inviting the pressure on for Millwall, and it was Jake Cooper who's popped up with some massive moments for Millwall so far this season to go ahead and get the equaliser in the end. So with Bolton, I suppose you can look at it from both perspectives really. They had a massive chance in this game, in my opinion, to go ahead and claim all 3 points with the position they got themselves into, but on the other hand, you look at it, they've stopped that consecutive losing streak that they were on going into this game, so there's both ways you can look at that, I suppose. And now next game saw my team Preston then go ahead and beat Blackburn Rovers by 4-1 in what was a very convincing performance from the home side in this game. Tom Barcusa managed to give Preston the lead after just 2 minutes. It was a really frantic start from the home side in this one. We were absolutely brilliant. We came flying off the blocks for this one. Alan Brown putting the ball back across the goal, and Tom Barcusa managed to put us 1-0 in front. Then after 10 minutes, Callum Robinson managed to double the lead with a very cool finish from him. The only bad news coming out of this game is that Callum Robinson will now be out for 3 months of the season with a hamstring injury he picked up in the second half of this game. Absolutely devastating news for us. Callum Robinson this season has been by far our most consistent player, our best forward option, and he really has been in sparkling form so far this season. So to lose him at this point is really devastating for us to go forward after we have, you know, looked so good in recent weeks. Talking about the game though, in that first half, Declan Rudd also popped up with some huge saves. You know, Blackburn did have a fair few chances in that first half, but Declan Rudd came up clutch with some massive saves for us. Going into this game, Tony Mowbray got the tactics completely off for Blackburn. What Preston have struggled defending so far this season is balls coming into the box. They were sort of playing Bradley Dack as sort of like a false 9 with no one to play off. I don't think that suits his game really. We've seen the best of Bradley Dack so far this season when he is playing off a player like Danny Graham, and without that going forward, I think that Bradley Dack was just looking lost really. Ben Pearson was absolutely fantastic for this game. Bradley Dack wasn't getting a touch anywhere all over the pitch. Ben Pearson in this game was absolutely immense. And then Preston managed to wrap it up in the second half with goals from Louis Moult and Alan Brown. So in the end, a fantastic home performance from Preston then. Like I said, the only bad news for us is that Callum Robinson is now out for 3 months of the season, which isn't brilliant for us. Blackburn, like I said, I didn't think were very good. Tony Mowbray got the tactics wrong for this game. They'll be hoping to bounce back in midweek. Then we saw Derby County claiming all 3 points away at Sheffield Wednesday with a 2-1 away victory. For this game, I didn't think the Derby were quite at their best than we've seen them so far this season, but even so, it was enough to go ahead and claim all 3 points for this game. It was Sheffield Wednesday, the home side, who did start the brighter of the two sides though. They were having quite a few chances in the opening exchanges, and it was Adam Rich who managed to give Sheffield Wednesday the lead. Derby, I thought they were looking quite lethargic for the first sort of half an hour of this game, weren't really looking like their usual selves, but Harry Wilson did manage to get a goal back for Derby to make it 1-1, and after that, Derby were looking a lot better after that really. Jack Marriott then soon after just 5 minutes managed to fire Derby 2-1 in front, racing through on goal past all the Sheffield Wednesday defenders and then burying it in the bottom corner. Since Jack Marriott has come into this Derby side, you know, it took him a while. He wasn't necessarily in the picture at the start of the season, but since he has arrived into that starting 11, he's been on some sparkling form for Derby recently, and really does give them an outlet of pace going in behind for them going forward. Into the second half, Sheffield Wednesday had some brilliant chances to draw level in this game. I think it was Fox who hit the post from about 2 or 3 yards out, and somehow not managing to score that one. Derby also had some chances in the second half of this one, but with Sheffield Wednesday at the moment, there is just problems all over the pitch. I'm not really sure where to start when I'm discussing them really. This result for Sheffield Wednesday now leaves them 18th in the table, just 3 points off the relegation zone. So, you know, they really need to turn this form around sooner rather than later. In terms of Derby, like I said, I didn't think it was necessarily the best performance they've had so far this season, but to be picking up all 3 points when you aren't playing at your best, that's a good sign of things to come in the future. So Derby still sat in the top 6, looking alright at the moment. And then we had Stoke drawing 2-2 with QPR this weekend. Angel Rangel popping up with both goals for the away side in this game. I love the reaction of Steve McLaren when Rangel scored his first goal. I had it in the 7th minute. It sort of cut to him, the camera, and Steve McLaren was just looking annoyed more than anything that Angel Rangel was in the box after he told him to stay on the halfway line. But even so, what an impact signing he has been in recent weeks. Talking about Stoke City though, I thought they were looking alright for this game. They managed to get back into the game with Sadio Berahino scoring after 21 minutes. In recent weeks, we have seen Stoke not really scoring very many goals at all actually, but in this game they were creating quite a lot of chances against this QPR side who were looking to be very resolute defensively. Stoke then managed to go 2-1 in front after Joe Allen managed to put them ahead in the 61st minute, but then QPR got back into the game. Angel Rangel once again popping up on that right hand side, smashing it in past Jack Butland to make it 2-2. Stoke also had some chances to go on to win the game. They had a couple of goals ruled off for offside, both Peter Crouch late on and Tommins before that having goals ruled out for offside. I thought that Stoke, in terms of creating chances, were looking better in this game than they had done in recent weeks, but Stoke are just drawing a lot of games in the Championship at the moment. They've drawn 4 of their last 5 games. They're comfortably sat in 13th in mid-table at this point in time. If they want to kick up the Championship though, they need to be turning these sort of games into 3 points in the future. And then we saw Norwich once again claim all 3 points, this time with a fantastic 4-1 away victory at Swansea. And I mean, they were 3-0 up after 37 minutes for this game. Swansea really didn't help themselves early on for this game. It was Van der Horn scoring their own goal after 16 minutes. I think it was Timu Pukki who flashed the ball across the box, and then not long after that in the 24th minute they gifted Norwich another goal, trying to play out from the back. Buendia pounced on a defensive error and managed to make it 2-0 to Norwich quite comfortably. That sort of seemed to knock the wind out of Swansea City's sails, and the third goal that Norwich scored was absolutely fantastically well worked. Some brilliant one-touch play in the build-up to this one, and in the end it was Steekman who knocked it in to make it 3-0 to Norwich City. Swansea did manage to get a goal back just before half-time, a long-ranging effort which Tim Krul parried. Ollie McBurney followed it up, and eventually it was James who followed in to make it 3-1 going into half-time. That didn't really affect Norwich into the second half though. It was a very comfortable performance from them, and once again Timu Pukki managing to get on the score sheet, making it 4-1 to Norwich City after 60 minutes. A brilliant spinning shot on the spot managed to make it 4-1 to Norwich City, and I've got to respect what Norwich are doing at the moment because they've gone ahead and stuck with their manager Daniel Farke after quite a bit of turbulence last season. They've not gone ahead and spent a fortune on this squad. The recruitment has been absolutely fantastic. What Stuart Webb has been able to achieve at Norwich in a relatively short amount of time, it has to be said, for the amount of money that has been spent there. They're doing an absolutely fantastic job at the moment and deservedly are sat top of the Championship at this point in time. Can they sustain this for a whole season? I'm not so sure. The Championship is an absolutely bonkers league, but once again it was a very convincing performance from Norwich, playing football in the right way, looking to play Swansea around the pitch. Swansea not their best for this one. The 2 early goals for Norwich didn't really help them in this game here today, but Norwich once again really are looking like a force this season. We then saw Wigan drawing 0-0 with Reading this weekend. Not the best game in the end. I thought that if anyone could have gone to win it, it was probably going to be the home side. They did create probably the better chances for this game in the end, but you can sort of tell that Wigan are in need of a couple more attacking reinforcements in the January transfer window if they are going to push up the league this season. I think that after the recent run of form that we saw Wigan going on the Championship, this was a good opportunity for them to go ahead and get back to winning ways against a Reading side who have been struggling away from home so far this season, but they didn't manage to do that. Defensively, I thought that Reading were actually looking quite good for this one. They were managing to limit Wigan to quite a few half chances really for this game. Nick Powell was looking to get on the ball and try and create things, but apart from that, Wigan didn't really have that much going forward. Reece James as well I thought was looking decent with some of the deliveries he had going into the box, but apart from that, Wigan weren't really at their best for this game, like they haven't really been for the past few weeks really, and in the end it was probably a fair result as a 0-0. If anyone could have won it, it was going to be the home side, but anyway, a 0-0 in the end, not the best game of football. And then we have Brentford against Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough still sat in the top 2 of the Championship after a 2-1 away victory against Brentford. I thought it was a very effective performance from the away side in this one. When you go away to a side like Brentford, I don't think that Middlesbrough were expecting to have a lot of the ball for this one, but when they did get their chances, they went ahead and took them. The first half, both sides created a few opportunities. Jordan Hugill had a decent one for Middlesbrough, which Daniel Bentley managed to parry away, and Brentford similarly had quite a few opportunities in the opening stages. Getting into the second half though, that's when Middlesbrough really started to turn it on. It was Jordan Hugill once again, been on a fantastic run of form lately for Middlesbrough, which I am a bit worried about as we do play them in midweek. I'm worried he's going to score against us, but Jordan Hugill managing to put Middlesbrough 1-0 in front, and then not too long after that, Tavernier managed to make it 2-0 after a fantastic in-swinging cross coming in from the right-hand side. He managed to make it 2-0 to Borough. After that, Middlesbrough were quite happy with their 2-0 lead. They decided to sit off Brentford, looking to dig in and just defend that 2-goal lead they had. Brentford did get back into the game though. Alan Judge, after a nice inventive corner kick, managed to fire it in low into the bottom corner past Darren Randolph to set up quite a dramatic end to this game really. Brentford were really pushing players forward at the final 15 minutes for this game, trying to flood people into the box, get something back into the game. Darren Randolph produced one absolutely fantastic save after, I think it was De Silva had a long-ranging effort, but he just managed to get a strong palm to it and tip it around the post. So in the end, that was enough for Middlesbrough to claim all 3 points. Brentford continue on this poor run of form in the Championship Championship currently. You know, Brentford in the Championship at the moment are one of those sides that are sort of in limbo. They're only 4 points off the relegation zone, but equally to that, they're only 10 points off the playoffs, so anything is still possible for Brentford this season, but they really need to turn their form around sooner rather than later. In terms of Middlesbrough, the away side, I thought it was a very effective performance from them in the end. Typical sort of Tony Pulis game, really, and like I said, they're on a very good run of form at the moment, doing well. And then for our final game to talk about this weekend, we had the second City derby, and it did not disappoint. We saw Aston Villa beating Birmingham City by 4-2. As a neutral myself watching this game, it was a fantastic game of football, end-to-end, both teams having a lot of chances, and it was the away side who took the lead. Lucas Djukovic from a corner kick, ghosting in at the far post, managed to make it 1-0 to Birmingham. After that, though, we saw Aston Villa respond well with a goal from Jonathan Kodjia, and then Jack Grealish popping up at the far post, managing to make it 2-1 to Aston Villa. The story could have been so different because before that, obviously, Che Adams had a fantastic chance for Birmingham, but he struck that against the post, and obviously after that, we saw Aston Villa sort of take control of the game. The first 30 or so minutes wasn't the best from Villa. Birmingham started quite well for this game, but defensively, Birmingham in this game, they were a little bit all over the place, really. And I'm sure it's going to be devastating from a Birmingham fan's perspective to go ahead and lose this game in the way they did in the end, you know. Defensively, that has been one of their strong suits so far this season, but in recent weeks, you know, we saw them conceding 3 goals against Hull City, now we've seen them concede 4 against Aston Villa. They've been looking a little bit all over the place recently. There's a penalty from Tammy Abraham which managed to make it 3-1. Birmingham then got back into the game with a goal from Christian Pedersen, but then we need to talk about Alan Hutton and the goal he scored. From a Birmingham City defensive standpoint, it was an absolute shambles of a goal to concede, but fair play to Alan Hutton, still doing it at the age he is, waltzing around every single Birmingham player from his right back position, making a darting run down the middle of the pitch. The Birmingham defenders just stood there like absolute statues around him, and he managed to fire it in past Lee Camp into the bottom corner. No idea what the Birmingham defence was doing for that one, absolutely no idea at all, but I'm sure Aston Villa fans will be absolutely buzzing from it. But for Aston Villa, Jack Grealish once again being very influential for them in this 4-2 home victory. He is an absolute nightmare of a player to play against, let me just say, because I mean, it's fair to say he does go down very easily when anyone does get near him, but what makes it even worse is he is such a talented football player, and he can just turn it on whenever he wants to, pulling the strings for Aston Villa from that deep line playmaker position. He's an absolute nightmare to go up against. And this result for Aston Villa now leaves them just 4 points off the playoffs, and after a decent run of form in the Championship recently, anything's possible for them this season. But guys, they were all the games that did take place this weekend, so let me know in the comments down below, what do you make of your team's performance this weekend? I am very interested to know. In terms of my result of the weekend, I'm going to have to give it to Aston Villa for picking up that 4-2 home victory in the second City derby, in a game of such magnitude to go ahead and beat your local rivals by 4-2 in the way they did. That leaves them just 4 points off the playoffs. Like I said, my result of the weekend is going to go to Aston Villa. And for my goal of the weekend, I'm going to have to give it to Alan Hutton on. So my goal of the weekend is going to go to Alan Hutton. And before we do wrap up today's video, we of course have some midweek fixtures to go ahead and predict in the Championship. So all these will be in the description down below, so you guys can easily go ahead and make your predictions. And then if you do successfully manage to get any of them correct, your comment will be included into the next video. So starting out, we got Brentford going up against Sheff Utd. Brentford are really not on a good run of form at the moment, but I am actually going to back them to get a draw from this one. I'll say it'll end as a 2-2. Hull City against Norwich. I mean, I'm going to have to be back in the away side for all 3 points in that one. Norwich have been brilliant lately. I'm going to say 3-1 to the away side. Leeds going up against Reading. Quite an interesting game. I'm going to back Leeds for a 2-0 home victory in that game. And then we see my team Preston going up against Middlesbrough. I've got a really bad feeling that Jordan Hugo's going to score a couple of goals against us. He's been in some fantastic form for Middlesbrough lately, and you know, Preston are on the longest unbeaten run in the Championship currently, so we can take a bit of confidence into this one. But with Callum Robinson being knocked out for 3 months of the season, that takes a little bit of the wind out of our sails. I'm going to say 2-1 Middlesbrough, but I'm hoping I'm proven wrong by that one. Rotherham against QPR, I'm going to say 1-1. Rotherham have been looking very good at home lately. Sheff Wednesday against Bolton, I'm going to say 2-1 Sheff Wednesday. That one's a massive chance for Bolton. That one could go either way. Aston Villa going up against Nottingham Forest, that's a tough one to call. I'm going to go with 2-1 Villa. I've been very impressed by both sides lately. Tough one to call. I'll say 2-1 Villa. Ipswich going up against Bristol City. I'm actually going to back Ipswich for all 3 points in that one. I'm going to say that they will walk away with a 1-0 home victory. Bristol City really not on a good run of form lately. Millwall going up against Birmingham, I'll say will end as a 1-1 draw. Swansea against West Brom I think could be a really entertaining game. I'm going to back West Brom for a 3-2 away victory. They've been looking much better going forward lately. Wigan against Blackburn, neither side's been brilliant lately. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. And then finally we got Stoke City going up against Derby County. I'm going to say that one will finish as a 2-2 draw. Derby not the best this weekend, but once again looking good going forward. Same with Stoke as well. They were creating a lot more chances this weekend. I fancy that one to be quite an open game of football. But guys, there you have it. That will now wrap it up for this weekend's edition of the Championship Roundup. So if you have enjoyed, make sure you leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you subscribe for some regular Championship content. Leave a comment in the comments down below as to what you made of your team this weekend. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.